ẹ máa bá wí pàṣẹ ẹ máa bá wí pàṣẹ ibi owó gbọ́ wá lọ́gbàlọ́ òfowó kọ̀ǹda dí kọ̀ǹda òfowó kọ̀ǹda dí kọ̀ǹda mi tún wá lọ́pọ̀dé díwé èyí ò ṣe wo lọ́pọ̀dé díwé èyí ọkọ̀ bọ́lájì ọkọ̀ màmá tó bó sì yí ò ṣe wo ọkọ̀ màmá tó bó sì bọ́lájì ṣáná máa kílábọ̀ sponsor ẹjọ́ gbìgbì.
This is Premier FM. We set the pace and hold the ace.
You've been gone, it's an empty home. Come on back where you really belong. You are always welcome home, welcome home.
Come with me. Yeah, come with me. It's Africans in Diaspora on Premier 93.5. Good day, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you're listening to all over the world. My name is Stephen Agbaje. It's another Thursday, and today we are on the starting blocks all the same. You know how we do it every Thursday afternoon? Oh no, I'm flying alone today, solo. No problem. You get to listen to Nelly next week, God willing, where she's on assignment for us. But today, it's going to be much fun because I'm not going to be all bone, because our guest is the flesh onto the bone. You remember that story from the beginning, eh? You saw that he needs a helper, and the helper was made for, let's not go religious, but on this show today, my guest happens to be a female, a very, very delectable one at that. So every Thursday afternoon, we go in search of sons and daughters that are outside the continent, making us proud, that we can take words of advice from. So today, I have equally a great poet, someone that is an accountant, someone that writes, and I've got she is a motivational speaker. Let me leave it at that and bring my guest in straight away so that you can get to know who my female guest on the program is. So, good afternoon, Farhana.
Good afternoon.
Welcome to Africans in Diaspora on Premier FM 93.5.
Thank you for having me on the show.
Great to have you. Now, I've just told our listener that I'm speaking to a writer, a speaker, an accountant, but I want you to take it a step further. Let's get to know you. Let's get to hear about your identity.
So, my name is Farhana, and I am in terms of my identity, I'm a parent as well.
Good.
So, I was, in terms of my origins, I have grandparents that are from India, and I also have my maternal grandmother that's from South Africa. I reside in the UK. I was born in the UK, and my parents were also born in the UK.
Great.
But I have a big family in South Africa, and we have links to family internationally.
Okay.
So ultimately, this sort of really is ingrained in myself to have like a different cultures. That's a part of my identity. So when we talk about the origins, that's how I have basically originated from.
All right then. Now, your work explores identity and transformation, and you've just stated that you've got family roots in Africa through your maternal mother. How does that African connection represent in your poetry and how you see yourself?
No, absolutely. So there's a lot of infusion of that. My poetry in itself is to do with identity and sort of what happens is so I've been in the UK, and ultimately I never thought that I sort of fitted in sort of one box, and because there was so much of a blend within me. I'm also obviously I'm a woman. I'm also a woman of faith. So when you blend in things such as faith, my identity as a female, and then my religion and where my family originates from, there isn't sort of a one. It's not one dimensional. It's multi-dimensional. It involves so many things, and so through my work, when it's to do it sort of shows a journey. Now the journey is not just to do with my identity, but it's a large part of it, because all the things that I have maybe in my journey of life, all the things that I have maybe encountered, or like difficulties that I may have had even within my community, because the town that I live in, there are very many individuals that originate from India, or they have families that either originate from India or Pakistan, but they don't have the South African mix, and it does make a difference in terms of how I present myself, in how I look, in how I speak, in what my food is like, and other multifaceted areas.
Okay. Now, from the little we have been able to dig up about you, you are an accountant by profession. Is that right?
That's right, yes.
Now, what experience made you see writing as the path that you need to take? And one traces that movement from your poetry. It has a theme of darkness into light. So what actually clicked it for you?
So there's again multiple things here.
Okay.
So the first thing is that I love being an accountant.
Okay.
But it's very analytical. So it's all to do with facts basis. There's either a right or a wrong answer.
Okay.
Now with poetry and with emotions, there doesn't need to be a right or a wrong answer. There's a lot of exploration that you can do. There's a lot of like juxtapositions and opposing things that you can hold true at the same time. I myself have always struggled with the fact that with me being quite analytical in thinking, that when it comes to emotions and the journey of life, sometimes there isn't a right or a wrong answer. So just to sort of have a safe space to explore that was, it's been great for me through using poetry as an outlet. But coming back to the darkness into light, I have been through certain heartbreak in life, whereby I've been through some dark periods of time, and we all humans go through periods of time where there's darkness or heartbreak or difficulties, loss, and to come and emerge into light, or to be able to show that process, and not just kind of just go from one thing to the next. It's quite important for me as well, and to acknowledge the difficulties, to acknowledge all the things in between, be it whether it's I don't like the idea of a feeling being right or wrong. Because feelings are feelings.
Yeah.
So to be able to explore all the things in between is just amazing through poetry.
Okay. All right. Let's now take a step further into your collection. Your debut collection, Flames from the Shadow. It deals with resilience, healing, vulnerability, and renewal. Could you let us into what made now the right time to put those reflections into a book? Because I read also that it's been put together. So could you let us into why now?
So I've been in a period of time, let's say the last couple of years, where I very much looked inward. So I've had a lot of periods of time in solitude, where I've looked inward, and I've been on the journey of life, and I've been able to kind of really sort of think about myself, where I belong in the world, and sort of have maybe some sort of closure for some of the difficult areas that I have had to endure. And so I've also been privileged to have some amazing inspirational mentors that came into my life last year, and I've had that encouragement from the people around me. So this is why it's been the right time.
Okay. All right. If you're just joining us, this is Africans in Diaspora on Premier FM 93.5, Radio Nigeria, Ibadan. And we're speaking with Farhana Pandel on Africans in Diaspora this week, all the way from the United Kingdom. She is an accountant, a speaker, and a poet. We just explored that area. Now let's talk about the experience on, in some parlance, it's foreign land, So as a British poet with African ancestry, how do you navigate telling a story that's both personal and part of a wider diasporic experience?
So this was the amazing thing about poetry in itself. So ultimately, say for example, if somebody wrote a novel or an autobiography, it would be very explicit, and it would be very sort of detailed. Whereas the amazing thing about poetry is things are sort of hidden almost. So they're hidden with imagery, metaphors, personification, juxtapositions, which I spoke of earlier. So ultimately, with poetry, the feelings are there. So whenever someone would read the poems in isolation or together through the book that I created, they will no doubt feel those emotions and those difficulties and the transformation. But ultimately, at the same time, you have the privacy, because it's wrapped up with all these things.
All right. Do you now personally feel a responsibility as a writer in the diaspora to represent certain stories or truths, or do you write purely from personal necessity? Let's clarify that.
So, it is a personal story. It's a personal story, but at the same time, it's to sort of really instill resilience in individuals, or instill hope, because communication or some sort of articulation which instills those feelings, which inevitably then shows hope, and that there's light at the end, from darkness into light. It would give the masses and individuals that sort of hope and inspiration that there is light at the end of the tunnel, and that our feelings are valid through difficulty, through be it whatever, it's quite universal in terms of what kind of losses or issues people may have, and ultimately that light at the end, which would be inspirational.
That's great. Now let's move away from poems for now, and then dig into that finance area that you're also involved in. You are a financial controller and founder of Pan Accounts, alongside your literary work as established. How do the analytical and creative sides of you talk to each other?
So there's a couple of things here. So the first element is that I feel like they're complementary.
Okay.
So you'll have a lot of professionals that have their day jobs, or whether it's analytical or they could be anything really that they do on a day-to-day basis. But then to have a creative outlet, it's sort of, it's like a yin and yang, so you kind of complement each other. So ultimately, I personally feel like I then have extra enjoyment in what I do. So I'm very excited with the poetry side, but likewise I'm very passionate about my day job as a financial controller, and then ultimately as an accountant as well. But the fundamental elements underneath both me as a founder for Pan Accounts and my poetry is the empowerment underneath. So my motto is to humanize finance, and my poetry is also about really exploring the human side of individuals. So both empowerment through finance or empowerment through poetry, and that's the sort of fundamental underlying principle or ethos that I have.
Okay, that's lovely. Now we'll take a break, as we would like to play this beautiful track to water it down. When we come back after this musical track, we would go on the final round, and we will get to talk about you as a speaker, and of course the reception you'll receive from your listener and audiences world over. So hang in there. It's still Africans in Diaspora on Premier FM 93.5. So Fahana will be back.
Thank
God's great big family, and the truth, love
Yes, we are the world, and of course, we are the future. We must make it right. It's Africans in Diaspora on Premier FM 93.5, Radio Nigeria, Ibadan. And our guest today, Ben Fahana Panda, a poet, an accountant, a motivational speaker, and of course, an entrepreneur. Fahana, good to still have you on the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, now let's explore the speaking aspects. What themes do you find resonating most when you share your work live with audiences?
Sorry, I apologize. Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, I said as a speaker, what themes do you find resonating most with when you share your work live with audiences?
So it's probably that's a difficult one to answer, really. Probably more personal story.
Okay, your experiences.
So for example, for example, with myself,
Okay.
I am a single mum also.
Okay.
So that journey whereby when I began, even prior to my qualifications, I started even with the poetry much later on in life.
Okay.
So those are the type of things that resonate best.
Okay. But let's take it a step further. What do you think young people in the diaspora who feel torn between practical careers and creative passions could do to have their own path? What's your advice for them? They feel torn. Should I follow my practical career or should I follow my creative side? But this is you've been able to blend the two together. What would be your advice for such people, young at heart, that want to have their own line too?
So my advice would be that God has given each and every one of us with unique skill sets. So to identify what the unique skill set is first and foremost, and then to nurture that. And sometimes it really doesn't matter whether people want to sort of go towards a profession or the creative side professionally. It's just to not hold back and to just tap into it and just go for it. So ultimately finding out what we are best at.
Okay.
So some individuals are very good with their hands. Some people are good with their minds.
Okay.
Some individuals have a mix. So once you find what you are great at, to really and you enjoy it is quite important as well.
Okay.
It can only be a success.
Lovely. Now, as we coast home, I'd like to ask you, what's the conversation around identity, healing, or selfhood that you wish more people were having?
I wish more people talked about the difficulties, but more from like an optimistic viewpoint.
Okay.
So you can have people that talk about difficulties in a pessimistic and negative manner, which obviously, if individuals are going through difficulties, it's going to be negative to a certain point. But to have that hope and to have that the light is going to be there is very important. One of the things that I continuously tell myself throughout difficult periods in time, or have told myself, is that this is temporary. It's going to end. So human beings in general have time periods when you're happy and then time periods when you're sad, and neither of neither of the time periods are going to last.
Okay.
But ultimately, hope is very important, and hope through faith is very important too.
Okay. So what's next for Farhana Panda? More poetry, speaking, or next level for pan accounts?
So I would like to do everything. I'm one of those where I take each day as it comes.
Okay.
And again, for listeners, it would be the consistency that even if you do a little bit every single day, you know, whether they are into poetry, writing, even if it's just half an hour a day,
Okay.
or 1 hour, whatever the time period is, if you do that every single day and you include it in your life,
Okay.
then over say 1 year or 2 year, it adds up to quite a lot. So for me, it's the consistency in the poetry,
Okay.
and then the consistency with pan accounts,
Alright.
and to slowly and surely build further.
Wow, that's great. All right, thank you very much, Farhana. But I won't just let you go yet. Let's talk about cuisines. Any African delicacy that you love? I don't know. Would like to know.
Okay, that's a difficult one. So basically, the food that I actually make is more Indian infused with African twists to it.
Okay.
So when I mentioned it's different, it is very different.
Okay.
My maternal grandfather's Indian and my maternal grandmother South African. So my maternal grandmother cooked the Indian cuisine, but with
South
an
African flavor.
twist,
Okay.
shall we say?
Okay.
So yes.
But with that now, you've not heard of this debate about jollof rice, stuff like that. Niger jollof, Ghana jollof, South African jollof. You are not part of that debate yet.
No.
It's been great. It's been great talking to you, Farhana. From the entire crew of Africans in Diaspora, we'd like to wish you well in your future endeavors. But just before you go, I want you to complete this line for me. Becoming, for me, means
Being my best self.
be my best self. That's the key out there on this edition of Africans in Diaspora. Next week, Thursday, God willing and God will, we'll be back with another notable son or daughter for your listening pleasure. Farhana, thank you very much for spending time with us on this show today.
Thank you. The pleasure's mine. Thank you for having me.
All right then, enjoy your day. All right then, I would like to say big thanks to Adeyemi Hamzat who pulled the strings on the console. The producer had been Shegun Ogunjobi. Big thanks to Tokumbo Fernandez for the supplies, and of course Jacinta, thank you for always being there. Stephen Agbaje is my name. Next week we'll be back on the starting blocks. Do your best and always shine the light. Bye for now.
You've been kept down for much too